The real secret to attraction isn't found in a bank account or a gym membership. It's found in the way you occupy the space around you. While the world tries to convince you that younger women are only interested in the surface level, the flashy cars, the expensive watches, or a youthful face, the truth is far more profound. They are searching for a specific kind of depth, a groundedness that is increasingly rare in a modern world, fueled by chaos and digital noise. Most older men carry a hidden goldmine of attraction that they haven't even tapped into yet because they are too busy trying to compete with younger versions of themselves. They don't realize that their greatest advantage isn't their ability to mimic youth, but their ability to embody a presence that youth simply hasn't had the time to develop. This is the power of presence, and it's a magnetic force that shifts the energy of a room the moment you walk in. Not because you're demanding attention, but because you are entirely comfortable in your own skin. When we talk about this draw, we are looking past the superficial games and the alpha posturing that feels forced and hollow. We are talking about emotional maturity, the kind that allows a man to stay steady when everyone else is panicking. It's that quiet strength that doesn't need to shout to be heard, and a genuine presence that makes the person you're talking to feel like they are the only person in the world. This isn't about manipulation or tactics to get someone to like you. It's about the raw power of character, having a defined purpose, and an unapologetic authenticity. Younger women are often surrounded by peers who are still figuring themselves out. Men who are reactive, insecure, and constantly performing for social media. When they encounter an older man who is anchored in his values, who doesn't play mind games, and who moves through life with a sense of calm authority, it acts as a massive relief. It's an invitation to a different kind of connection, one built on respect and substance, rather than just a fleeting spark. If you are a man who has spent years working on yourself, valuing growth over comfort and calmness over conflict, you already possess the ingredients for this irresistible magnetism. You might have felt that your age was a hurdle, but in reality, your experiences have given you a weight to your personality that younger men simply cannot replicate. This video is about uncovering that quiet power and understanding how your character and your inner peace are actually your strongest tools for building meaningful connections. We're moving away from the chase and toward a way of being that naturally commands respect without you having to say a word. Whether you are looking to improve your dating life or you simply want to understand the psychological mechanics of why some men seem to draw people in effortlessly, you are in exactly the right place to evolve your presence and step into a version of yourself that is truly deeply attractive. The emotionally grounded man is a rare find in today's world, acting as a human anchor in a sea of constant distraction and high-string impulsive behavior. While most people are caught in a cycle of reacting to every notification, every slight, and every minor inconvenience, this man moves with a deliberate pace that sets him apart. He isn't out there seeking the spotlight or begging for a pat on the back because his value is generated from within. When the pressure mounts and everyone else starts to crack, he remains calm, steady, and centered. This isn't just a personality trait, it's a magnetic force. Younger women in particular are often navigating high-stress environments and chaotic social circles where emotional volatility is the norm. When they encounter a man who isn't easily rattled, they don't just feel attracted, they feel a profound sense of safety. They realize they don't have to manage his moods for him. And that realization creates a foundation of respect that far outlasts any superficial spark. One of the most powerful ways he demonstrates this strength is through his ability to respond rather than react. Most people are like a loaded spring. The moment they feel challenged or insulted, they snap back with a sharp word or a defensive posture. The emotionally grounded man is different. He has mastered the pause. When a situation gets heated, he takes a breath and actually considers the reality of what's happening before he opens his mouth. Because of this, every interaction with him feels intentional and measured, never chaotic or accidental. This creates an atmosphere of incredible peace. When you are with him, you realize you can be honest and direct without the fear that a single wrong word will trigger an explosive overreaction or an ego-driven meltdown. He is the person you can talk to about anything because he provides a soft landing for hard truths. This control comes from a deep, honest understanding of his own inner world. He isn't someone who is pushed around by unexamined feelings or bad moods that he doesn't understand. If he feels a wave of anxiety, sadness, or frustration, he doesn't immediately look for someone else to blame or project that pain onto his surroundings. Instead, he turns inward and asks himself the hard questions. He reflects on the why behind his emotions, untangling the truth of his feelings before they become a problem for others. This level of self-awareness makes him incredibly trustworthy. You never have to worry about him having a hidden agenda or being a victim of his own subconscious whims. He is the master of his own house, and that internal clarity gives everyone around him the green light to trust his judgment and his character. Because he has handled his own internal chaos, he becomes a literal safe harbor for others. We've all been in relationships where we felt like we had to walk on eggshells, carefully choosing every word to avoid a sudden shift in the other person's mood. With the emotionally grounded man, that exhausting weight is lifted. He is consistent. He doesn't take out a bad day at work on his partner, and he doesn't make innocent people the targets of his personal frustrations. His reliability is his signature. This is especially captivating to younger women who may have spent years dealing with the hot and cold inconsistency of men their own age who are still trying to find their footing. His steadiness isn't boring. It's a luxury. It provides the emotional security that allows a relationship to actually grow instead of just surviving from one crisis to the next. Furthermore, this man has reached a point in his life where he values truth far more than his own ego. He has absolutely no interest in winning every argument just for the sake of being right. In fact, he's often the first one to seek understanding rather than dominance. He listens with the goal of seeing the other person's perspective, even if it contradicts his own. His humility isn't a sign of weakness, it is the ultimate expression of his strength. He is secure enough in who he is that he doesn't need to crush an opponent in a conversation to feel powerful. This makes every discussion with him productive instead of combative. You don't feel like you're in a courtroom when you talk to him. You feel like you're on a winning team. At his core, he is a man guided by immovable principles. While the rest of the world is busy chasing the latest trends or being swayed by the shifting winds of social media, he remains rooted in his own values. He has a strong inner compass built from years of reflection, success, and even failure. This consistency is incredibly magnetic because it eliminates the guesswork. People know exactly where he stands, what he will tolerate, and what he represents. He doesn't shift his personality to fit in or change his opinions to please a crowd. This authenticity creates a sense of home in his presence. Just being near him seems to lower the emotional temperature of the room. He gives others silent permission to drop their guards, relax, and just breathe. He doesn't rush the silence or try to fix people with unsolicited advice. He simply offers his presence, a calm patience that proves he is exactly where he needs to be. The quietly confident man is a master of the unspoken impact, moving through life with a calm strength that is felt by everyone in the room long before he ever opens his mouth. While the world is currently obsessed with those who shout the loudest, post the most, or demand the spotlight, this man is doing something far more powerful. He is standing still in his own truth. He doesn't need to dominate the conversation or be the center of attention to feel significant because his self-assurance is internal. It is unshakable. When he walks into a space, the energy shifts not because he's trying to impress anyone, but because he's the only person who isn't looking for permission to be there. This level of groundedness is transformative for those around him. Younger women who are often exhausted by the performative confidence seen on social media or the loud, insecure bravado of younger peers find this quiet authority absolutely magnetic. It signals that he has already won the war within himself, and that kind of peace is a luxury that commands instant, effortless respect. The core of this magnetism is that he truly knows his own worth without needing a single drop of external validation. He doesn't crave the applause of strangers, and he doesn't need a constant stream of likes or compliments to sustain his mood. He knows exactly what he brings to the table, his skills, his character, and his value as a human being. And that internal clarity is more than enough for him. While other men are busy trying to prove how smart, rich, or successful they are, the quietly confident man is content with quiet recognition. He doesn't have to announce his arrival or his achievements because he isn't trying to sell you a version of himself. He is simply living it. This makes him incredibly trustworthy because, he isn't doing things to get a reaction out of you. He's doing them because they align with who he is. Because he isn't trying to prove himself. He has mastered the art of listening more than he speaks. He understands a secret that most people miss. Listening is the ultimate form of power and respect. He doesn't spend his time in a conversation just waiting for his turn to talk or thinking about how to steer the topic back to his own life. Instead, he gives you his full, undivided presence. He listens with a patient curiosity that makes you feel seen and heard on a level that is rare in today's fast-paced world. When he finally does speak, his words carry an incredible amount of weight. Because he isn't wasting air on empty chatter or defensive explanations, what he says is thoughtful, intentional, and direct. He doesn't use language to dominate the space or diminish others. He uses it to build trust and offer genuine value. This man doesn't tell you who he is, he shows you through his actions. He doesn't need to boast or brag about his past wins or his future plans because he lets his results and his daily habits do the talking. He understands that rhetoric is cheap, but a consistent way of living is priceless. People respect him for what he actually does, the way he handles his business, the way he treats the waiter, and the way he shows up when things get difficult. He isn't interested in building a personal brand based on a lie. He is focused on building a character based on integrity. This makes him a pillar of strength for those around him. You never have to wonder if he's telling the truth about his capabilities because you can see them reflected in the life he has built and the way he carries himself every single day. One of the most attractive things about him is the way he handles failure. He owns his flaws without a single excuse. When something goes wrong, he doesn't go on the defensive or try to shift the blame onto someone else to protect his image. He doesn't hide behind "it wasn't my fault" or "I didn't know." Instead, he takes full responsibility, looks the situation in the eye, and moves forward with a plan to do better. He understands that admitting a mistake isn't a sign of weakness. It's the ultimate sign of accountability and a massive indicator of emotional strength. This honesty makes him incredibly safe to be around. You know that if there's a problem, he'll deal with it directly rather than playing games or making you the scapegoat for his setbacks. Finally, the quietly confident man has stopped looking left and right to see who he's beating. He is only in competition with the man he was yesterday. He isn't worried about outperforming his neighbors or keeping up with the latest trends to prove he's still relevant. He is focused on his own path, his own growth, and his own purpose. This keeps him grounded and authentic in a way that is impossible to fake. He values depth over noise, preferring a deep, meaningful connection with one person over a surface-level interaction with 100. He asks the kind of thoughtful questions that show he genuinely cares about the person in front of him, not because he's looking for a personal advantage, but because he values substance. He offers sincere encouragement because he is so secure in his own skin that he has no reason to be threatened by the success of others. He is a man who has nothing to prove, and ironically, that is exactly why everyone wants to know him. The deep thinker is a breath of fresh air in a society that has become obsessed with the surface level. We live in a world of 10-second clips, filtered photos, and rapid-fire opinions. But the deep thinker operates on a completely different frequency. He doesn't rely on flash, loud clothes, or expensive toys to get noticed. Instead, he uses the power of his mind and the weight of his insights to leave a lasting impression. While other men are chasing the latest trends just to stay relevant, the deep thinker remains still, focused on the why behind everything. His presence lingers long after a conversation ends because he doesn't just talk to people. He challenges them to see the world and themselves in a way they've never considered before. For a younger woman who is used to the shallow, predictable banter of her peers, encountering a man with this kind of intellectual depth is like finding an oasis in a desert. It's magnetic because it's rare, and it's respected because it's authentic. One of the most striking things about this man is that he has completely outgrown the need for boring, repetitive small talk. He isn't interested in the weather or the latest celebrity gossip. He skips the social rituals to ask questions that actually matter. He might ask you about a lesson you learned the hard way, or what you believe makes a life truly meaningful. This isn't a tactic to be deep. It's a genuine desire to understand the person standing in front of him. When he asks these questions, you can tell he isn't just waiting for his turn to speak. He is searching for the substance of your character. This level of curiosity makes people feel incredibly valued and seen. It signals that he cares about who you are at your core, not just the image you present to the world. And that creates an instant, powerful bond that surface-level flirting simply cannot touch. This depth is also reflected in the way he communicates. He is incredibly deliberate. In a world where everyone is rushing to have the loudest opinion or the fastest comeback, the deep thinker is perfectly comfortable with silence. He isn't in a hurry to offer his take or give unsolicited advice. When you speak to him, he might pause for a few seconds before answering, not because he's stuck, but because he is actually processing what you said. These thoughtful silences signal a high level of self-control and awareness. They create a safe space where you don't feel rushed or judged. Because he takes the time to be intentional, his words carry 10 times the weight of someone who is just talking to hear themselves speak. You realize that when he finally does offer an opinion, it's coming from a place of real reflection, and that makes his perspective feel like gold. Furthermore, the deep thinker has a unique ability to see beyond the obvious. Where most people see a mistake or a failure as a dead end, he sees a pattern or a hidden lesson. He notices the subtle shifts in behavior and the underlying reasons why things happen the way they do. This makes his advice and his worldview incredibly rich with insight. He has a way of summarizing a complex situation with a single sentence that makes you stop in your tracks and think, "I never looked at it that way." This ability to widen someone else's perspective is one of the most attractive traits a man can have. It turns him into a kind of informal mentor, someone people naturally gravitate toward when they want clarity or a deeper understanding of life's challenges. What fuels this depth is his commitment to introspection. He is a man who is genuinely comfortable in his own solitude. He doesn't need to be constantly surrounded by people or buried in his phone to feel okay. He uses his time alone to read, reflect, and recharge his mental batteries. This emotional independence is a massive green flag because it proves he doesn't need constant approval from the outside world to know his worth. He understands himself well enough to enjoy his own company, which is the ultimate form of self-respect. When a man is content being alone, he becomes much more selective and intentional about who he spends his time with. He isn't needy for attention, and that lack of desperation is incredibly attractive. It shows that if he chooses to be with you, it's because he truly values your presence, not because he's afraid of being alone. Finally, the deep thinker is a man who is completely unswayed by the noise of the crowd. He doesn't care what's trending or what the majority thinks unless it aligns perfectly with his own principles. In an era of intense conformity where everyone is trying to fit into the same mold, his integrity acts as a steady compass. He isn't afraid to stand apart or hold an unpopular opinion if it's the truth. This makes him a rock-solid figure for those around him, especially younger women who may be navigating the pressures of social expectations and external noise. They see him as someone who is anchored in his own reality, someone who doesn't shift his personality to please others. He lives with a quiet inner alignment that reminds everyone around him that maturity isn't about fitting in. It's about standing firmly in your own truth. The respectful mentor represents a rare and commanding kind of presence that has nothing to do with being the boss or the loudest voice in the room. He is the man who leads through the weight of his example and the depth of his wisdom rather than through titles or ego. In a world where so many people are trying to dominate others or prove they are the smartest person in the room, the mentor type stands out because his focus isn't on himself. It's on how he can uplift the people around him. He provides a specific kind of stability and insight that many people, especially younger women who are navigating the early stages of their careers or personal growth, find incredibly magnetic. It isn't about a smooth charm or a calculated pickup line. It is about the fact that he has a handle on life and his energy naturally draws people in because they feel they can learn, grow, and be safe in his presence. This starts with the fact that he leads without an ounce of ego. Most people who have power or knowledge want to make sure everyone else knows it, but the respectful mentor doesn't feel the need to prove his authority to anyone.